Hello. Hi. Here we are. All right. So let's see. Um, Great. George is back. A joke from our 9-year-old grandson. What do you call it when two people from Italy fall in love? A romance. That's really cute. Gotta love those little kids and their jokes. Hi, Lynn and Dave. Lauren, good morning. Pat, hi. Nancy, good morning. Carolyn, good morning. Martha, good morning from Chicago. Um, and Michael, good morning. All right. Well, hopefully everything is okay today with my connection. They've been trying to work on our connection. I'm actually considering maybe renting office space so I could have better connectivity. So we'll see what happens. You might see a different location. All right. Well, I want to get started because I've really been thinking long and hard about today's class. And I'd like to go back and start. So if anybody, before I go back there, because I can't see my chats from back there, the comments. So if anybody would like to say anything before I go back there, if you want to share anything with me or with us, um, because I think that with this class being stress reduction, and I termed it that when COVID first happened, that's what this class became. It's from two classes. One of them was a restorative based class, and one was a yoga basics class that became one class on Saturday. And I I think that stress, the word it just was what was happening. So that's what happened. Stevie, good morning. Great to have you here. No, he can't come with me, Martha. Yeah, he's just such a love. I mean, really, truly, what's really beautiful about that cat and the energy that is his soul is when you walk up to him, he rolls over, he yields, and he makes some kind of little sound, not always a meow, something like it's a interesting sound, kind of bird-like in a way. And then actually he was conversing with the squirrels. I have it on video where the squirrel is making its squeaky squirrely sound, and he actually was emulating that. Uh, Anyway, so no, he won't come with me, but he rolls over and just is ready for rubbing and loving. Oh God, I take his face and it's just like, thank you for entering my life. All right. But it would be better for me because on Thursday I got dropped. So I was in the middle of an osteoporosis class with some people who are new to me, and my class got dropped, I think, with the last 10 minutes to go. So that was unfortunate. And honestly, I don't know if I've ever not been able to completely have a class before. And then my neighbor sent me a message and said, have you been having trouble with your cable or your internet? I said, yes. All right. So for today's practice, I'd like you to have some props before I go into explaining a little bit about what I'd like to focus on today. So make sure today we will be using a strap and a block. We're also going to come up into a chair today to come seated because there's a lot of great upper body work we can do when we're in a seated position. And I find that for many bodies, this is hard. So it's really hard for a lot of people to bend their knees. And I know that some of the people here today have that issue of bending the knees. So I'd like it to be available for all of us. And also, I hope to share with you tools in class that become a part of your life. Because this is not about showing up to take a yoga class with Debbie. This is about how can I learn how to manage my stress, how to keep my body healthy. Because if you don't do that, it's miserable. It's hard to have issues in your body, to not be able to live a life you want. And believe it or not, you're still that 20-year-old you, that fun, vibrant, energetic self. You just are living in something that has a lot of limitations. And the more limitations this package has, the harder it is for you to be that fun, happy you. So I was talking to my 21-year-old, and I asked her if she would consider herself a woman. And she looked at me weird. And I said, because I don't consider myself a woman. I know I'm a mom with 3 kids and I'm in my mid-50s, but to me, I'm still a girl. And I'm always trying to tap into that young, vibrant energy that is me, that's always been me. And then I notice throughout my life, whatever's happened to what I'm living in affects how I feel. So whether that's if I'm heavier than I want to be, or is that when my body was broken and my hip joint was collapsed. So that's my goal, is to share with you ways for you to keep the package you live in and the mind that runs the show really young and vibrant, so that you can still be that young, fun self. Okay, we want to have a blanket, a mat. We're going to get up onto a chair, a block, and a strap. And then I'd like you to shift today. So if you normally have your stuff at that edge of a mat and you look at me this direction, can you shift today and move your stuff to the other side? Because it's important that we don't get stuck in grooves or ruts or patterns. And that is what happens. And we try to disrupt that. So let's be disruptors, pattern disruptors, and raising our awareness to what patterns are. All right, today's class, there's going to be a focus today. There's 3 areas of stress that cause breakdown in our body, our mind, and our soul. One of them is musculoskeletal. It is your physical body. We do a lot here with that. The next one is biochemical and physiological. Your metabolism, your kidney health, your lung health, cardiovascular health, blood sugar regulation, all of those things, right? That's what ends up becoming disease when those functions are not working properly. And the last one is the mental emotional. And the real value of this practice is the mindset shifting that happens. So hopefully there's some pearls of wisdom that are shared that you take off your mat that become part of your life. Because I learn them and they change my life, and I share what I learn with you. I learn it and I share it. I get it and I give it. Maya Angelou quote. So today, this is what I want to raise awareness to. Is I read an article this morning about osteoporosis and about spinal fractures and then hip fractures. And I notice also in a lot of the people I work with, a lot of spinal issues, back issues, and then surgeries to repair them or try to repair them. A lot of fusions, especially of S1, L5, the low back where it meets the pelvis. So we get very sticky in our bodies, a lot of cobwebs, which stops you from being able to move. And then when they do that fusion, that's trying to say, no, you're not going to move here because we don't want to cause further damage. So that would be the stickiness, the adhesions, or the biochemical parts of you. So let's move today to change our biochemistry. Let's move today to change our musculoskeletal. And let's stay with our mind, with our breath and movement to manage our mind and our mental emotional. So all 3 layers. So without further ado, let's go down and ground the mental energy. Make sure that you switched to the other side of your mat, the other side of the room, something different, a changed perspective. Move and change, because that's how we make shifts in our lives. We take off our gray colored glasses and we put on rosy colored glasses. Whatever it is, you need to add a shift in order to have a perspective change. All right, so we're going to go down on the ground. I'm trying to think. Okay, because I want to focus on the spine today, and I was thinking about mobility in the spine, especially this lower part of the spine. I want us to do a chest opener, because this is a great way to have a posture, take some of that stress out of your body. And then this can actually be kind of restorative, because I was teaching a restorative class on Saturdays. And restorative yoga is when we use props and we allow the prop to do something deep in our body, which will have an effect on the nervous system and our mental emotional system. So you're going to take your blanket and you're going to roll it up, and make sure it's the long edge and not the short edge, because this will not be effective to have this, and it's way too big of a roll for many of you. So let's take this and kind of roll it pretty tight. If you're someone that has a decent range of motion in your body, and if you're someone with a little bit more limitations, you can actually roll it on a bigger wide fold so that it supports more of your spine when you lie down on it, as opposed to a more narrow. You're going to take this and you're going to roll it up. And this is something that's doable for many, right? Because most of us have access to a towel or a blanket or something. And so this is something that you can do on your own when you're not being guided in a class environment. And you want this to come all the way up to the back of your body. So you're not sitting on it, but it comes right up back here. And then you're going to come to the side or roll down. If you have osteoporosis, I would come to the side and come down onto it. Because you want to make sure you don't put any more pressure on the front of your spine. And then when you come down, have your knees bent, your feet are flat. Find the blanket behind your spine, and then make sure your head is comfortable. So you can either fold the top of the blanket or even put something else back there. And then let's do a little bit of opening and closing to get our mind and our breath and our body in one place. So once you come down, the knees are bent, the feet are flat. Close your eyes, allow yourself to be here. Then you're going to inhale to open your arms out towards the side. Exhale, bring your arms up and over to hug yourself. So the arms cross, the hands end up on the outside of the shoulders. You're hugging yourself. Inhale to open and exhale to hug yourself. So do a couple of these, feel what you feel, and notice what you notice. Each day that stickiness comes into our body and takes up residence in our joints and our tissues. And if you don't do anything with it, it gets harder and harder. It calcifies. And the calcification is with calcium, which comes out of your bones to lay down that protection. It's protection. So let's keep on keeping on. Let's keep on being mobile and movable. Inhaling, open, exhale to hug yourself. Start to switch the cross of your arms. So notice which forearm comes in front. Notice how far away you can move from your body when you open up your arms. See if you can take your arms relatively straight, no bend in the elbows, as your arm moves out to the side, and then exhale to hug yourself. Go with breath. So the movement should be the pace of your breath, and begin to slow down your breath. One more like this. And then bring your arms down alongside your body. So the arms are down alongside you. Take an exhale. Inhale, let your arms come up and over towards the floor above your head. Maybe they touch the floor and maybe they don't. Keep your eyes closed. Notice what you notice here. Go slow, and there might be a little shakiness here. This is shoulder joint and the muscles of the shoulder. So in this position, being on the ground with the shoulder blades not being able to be part of that movement of the shoulder, there could be a lot of things that you may notice here. So to keep the nice mobility and health of your shoulder, really important to keep that. Only go as far overhead as your shoulders feel comfortable doing, and then exhale to come back down. Inhale up. And exhale down. You could separate it, let the right hand come up when you inhale, and then come down, and then let the left hand rise up and over. Be in your shoulder, be in your upper back, be in the shoulder blade area. And as you inhale to rise, notice what you notice. For those with shoulder issues, if it gets too uncomfortable or even painful to lift your arm up, can you try to bend your elbow when you lift your arm up? And maybe the elbow doesn't raise too high, but your hand is able to go back and touch the ground. Different set of muscles and a little bit less shoulder joint movement. So exploring, feeling, noticing, no right way, no, it shouldn't be any way in particular. This is about exploring mobility in your body, using your breath to extend and lengthen the muscles on the inhale as the arm moves away from your body. And on the exhale, to contract the muscles and bring the arm back to the body. And this is the natural way that we breathe in the practice of yoga. When we lengthen muscles or move away from the body and open up, we inhale. And when we contract and move back to center, we exhale. And then finish up your last one to each side. You're going to take your arms out to the side. Begin by bringing your arms as straight as you can alongside your body, and only as high as you can according to what the shoulders like. And I'd like your knees to be bent and your feet to be flat and your knees to be falling in towards each other, so that we really isolate this in the upper spine and the shoulder area. And we allow the low back to not feel any extra tension. And then if you'd like to begin to bend the arms a little bit more, keep the backs of the hands on the floor, palms are up towards the sky, chest is stretching. Keep the mouth closed, back teeth are separated, soft jaw. Can you soften your jaw? So if we don't keep moving our body, over time, the tissues turn from grapes to raisins. So think about a plump, juicy green grape and think about a golden raisin. And the difference, the main difference there is dehydration. And it's also oxidation. And those are the two aspects of aging: oxidation and dehydration. And so when we move our body, we create fluids to be released. And actually, there's studies that stretching the tissues, actually stretching muscles, and especially the fascia that wraps the muscles, actually releases moisture or water. So there is that actual aspect of being a grape, staying a grape through movement. Bring your awareness to your feet. Feel your feet on the floor. Feel your knees touching each other. Feel the pelvis supported on the ground. Bring your awareness to the low back. You have 5 big bones. Largest spine bones are the lumbar spine. 5 bones. Bring your awareness to this part of your body. Breathe down to your belly. Breathe into your belly and breathe back to your lumbar spine. So that as you breathe in and your diaphragm expands, you're pressing towards your low back. So your awareness is there and you're actually moving your body towards this location. And hopefully you're able to feel your low back gently pressing up against your rolled up blanket behind your spine. This could be a great way to relieve tension if you're having low back issues, to lie down, to come into a chest opener, which is going to open up the top of your spine and lift the top of the spine, and the pressure and the stress coming from the top part of your spine down to the low back. So this is a way to release stress physically, musculoskeletally, and biochemically in the low back area. Use the breath, inhale down to your low ribs, and then direct it to your low back, 5 vertebrae. So let your mind go with your breath to your low back. This is the front part of your spine, helping to correct any kind of joint malalignment, any kind of extra compression on your discs that's causing any kind of herniations. And then because mental emotional stress plays a big role in back health, taking the time out to do this, to connect, to drop into the somatic, to the place of feeling, to shift in your brain, manages the mental emotional stress that is part of back pain. And then I want you to bring your awareness to your lower ribs, the diaphragm muscle. When we breathe in, it moves down and the belly rises. And at the same time, that intra-abdominal pressure created can create a lift in your spine. So you move down towards your low back, you do all that protection. And at the same point, more so when you're seated or standing, you have the opportunity to add traction and to release that compression in the spine, the thoracic spine, where your ribs are attached. So be right by the lower ribs, right by the belly button. And as you breathe in, feel the downward movement and the upward movement at the same time. So see if you can feel the downward pressure and the upward lift. Take 5 more breaths like that. Finish the one you're on and take 5 more. Your breaths, your pace. Feel down towards the belly and the low back and lifting up towards the heart and the head. Finishing up your last breath. Bring your awareness to your body, coming into a full body stretch if that's appropriate for you. If it's not, keep the knees bent, the feet flat, and the arms straight out to the side like a letter T, so that you're stretching your tissues in your maximum range of motion, whatever that is for your body. Being okay to accept what it is. And then bring yourself onto your side, opening your eyes. Your body may not do what my body does because you may not be doing 5 yoga classes a week. You may not be practicing every day in your joints the way you bend and move. And if you're not doing that, then your body will not be doing the things that mine does. And so I'm going to show you what the posture looks like or could look like to get some of that range of motion in your joints. Let's take your hand, push yourself away from the ground. And I say that because people comment to me and say, oh, I can't do what you're doing, or mine doesn't look like yours. And I don't want you to try to make it look like mine. I want you to feel your way into getting to the shape that I'm showing you, but only in the range of motion that's appropriate for you. All right. let's take our blanket and fold our blanket. Now, a little tutorial on the spine that I'd love for you to start learning and realizing, because the way you move every day has a lot to do with the health of your spine. And of course, the way you think every day has everything to do with the health of your spine. So there's 26 vertebrae, 2 are in the pelvis, 5 low back, 12 are attached to your ribs, and 7 are in your neck. So that's 26 bones. We're going to move them now through our movement patterns. And I want you to think of it like this. Think of, those the duck that you would do where you go like that and you make a duck shape with a shadow on the wall. So if the duck's mouth is kind of just open a little bit, that's like what our discs are, like that. When we come into flexion, when we come into a forward movement like this, we actually come to close the duck's mouth. We come into a wedge kind of shape, right? Like a door jam wedge. So I want you to be careful today. If you have osteoporosis especially, do not come into flexion. Do not do this. But when we do come into flexion, try to not just let it be up here in your thoracic spine. Try to let it also be in the lumbar spine. If you're going to come into flexion, trying to really close off the front, or rather open the back. And then when you come into extension, really trying to create open, a little stretch in the front of your vertebra. So come onto all fours and modify accordingly. It is helpful for those of you that have wrist discomfort to fold the front of your mat so that you minimize the flexion in your wrist joint. So that can be helpful. Take your hands farther away from your body. So don't be so close that you have this really short distance here. Go forward and then take your body forward so you are loading a lot on your wrists, and then push your body back. Feel how that feels. Now you're kind of off your wrist. You could even lift your hands off the ground one at a time, right? So for wrist joint issues, keep back in your body. Now you're loading up your hip joint as opposed to the shoulder. Bring yourself forward, bring yourself back. Bring yourself forward, bring yourself back. Might seem simple, but you're actually rolling around in your hip and your shoulder. And these are 2 balls and sockets, and we need fluidity in those joints. We need stretch, we need strength, and it strengthens them to do this compressive force, and it strengthens the bones. And that's important for all of us. We're going to come into a shape. Take your hands, shake your wrists while I show you this shape that I'd like you to have. I'd like you to come into an extension or a cow, like a sway back horse, when we come into the inhale. And as we come into the exhale, start pointing the tailbone down. And when you get here, my pelvis is moving away from my ribs. So I actually feel a major stretch in my low back muscles from my lower ribs towards the top of my pelvis. My knees are okay bending, so I can go all the way down to my heels. Not all of you will be able to do that, and it doesn't matter if you do. That's your exhale. This is your inhale. Okay, so come up, join me, do whatever you need to do with your wrists to arrive. Spread your fingers. Let's all begin here in a neutral all fours position. Press your fingertips into the floor. Press your feet into the floor. Your knees are underneath your pelvis. Exhale and inhale to come into spinal extension or a back bend. And as you exhale, start with your tailbone, pointing the tailbone down the back wall, letting the low back come into flexion, which is going to stretch that lower lumbar area. Let the pelvis come towards the heels. Maybe it gets all the way there at the end of your exhale. And then your inhale, you begin coming up into your cow posture. Exhale into spinal flexion. Inhale into spinal extension. These are 2 of the movements that are available to your spine and all the muscles that are responsible for that. And it's a great way to load up the wrists a little bit and then to bring yourself off of them and to move with breath so you manage the mental energy. Whatever range of motion you have is perfect. Let's do 2 more of these.
When you end at the end, stay here. Maybe your tailbone or your pelvis is hovering, maybe it's all the way down. Do whatever is appropriate for you. Let your forehead rest on the ground if you can. Let your tailbone be heavy and pointing down towards the floor. So, really lengthening that lower back area. Arms are straight in front of you. Try to unbend the elbows. Breathe down to your belly. For those of you that have a real deep knee and hip flexion, you get a little digestive aspects here as well, compressing the abdominal cavity. Take one more breath
and then bring yourself up. I want all of us to come into a puppy dog posture. So puppy dog is straight arms and a nice long spine with the forehead on the ground, or you could put a block underneath your head. There's not as much hip and knee flexion, so you're not all the way bending your knee and your hip like you would in child's posture. You're hovering here, but your pelvis is definitely over the middle calf and not over the knees. So you want your pelvis to be moving back so the weight of the pelvis stretches the spine. And now we start to stretch some of the chest muscles, and you could even rock a little bit here. So the arms are straight, palms are flat. Press one armpit at a time towards the ground. This is an important area for lymphatic system. A lot of lymph nodes are here for detoxification. And then the dumping, maybe that's not the right word, but it is, I guess. The lymph dumps back into the circulatory system to be filtered and cleansed, right on the by the aorta on the kind of on the upper left chest area. So let's stretch this tissue and stretch those vessels. When we stretch blood vessels and lymph vessels, and it's the way we move our lymph. So for immune health and for circulatory health and nervous system health, take one more breath. And then let's slowly bring ourselves up. I mean, doesn't that sound fantastic that you can actually have an effect on your vessels? I was reading this morning that the two main causes of death are, um, was it heart disease and diabetes, or was it cancer? They had to do with blood sugar regulation and circulation. So it had to do with stress management, also had to do with diet. And there was a study done a few years ago, I think it was last year actually, that when you stretch your muscles and you stretch your tissues, you're stretching your vessels. So that one there, a puppy dog, can get really great opening here. It's also where the nerves come off the brain, off the brain stem, come down the spinal canal and branch off to the arms. So it can be good for tingling, people who have tingling and numbness in their hands, to keep this area of your body nice and open. Okay, let's do a little something to strengthen our back. So I would like to have a block here, and actually maybe a block at this level. And what we're doing here is we're doing what's called a hip hinge. So we're actually bending our hip here. So let's do this. Keep your chest nice and long. Think about your 26 vertebrae, your 26 bones, and you don't want the front of the bones. You don't want to put pressure on the front of the bones. You don't want to smash the front of your spine into itself because it's the least strong part of the spine. The bones in the front of your spine are not as strong as the bones in the back of your spine, the vertebral bones, okay? So here it's hips. So can you take even your fingers here, keep your throat open, keep your chest open, do a little bit of this forward movement, and you're probably gonna feel that in your tushy, because it's actually the glute muscles that have to lengthen and contract. They get long, that's the back of your body. And then the front of your body, your hip flexor muscles, which is one of your quadriceps and your psoas, contract or get shorter to pull the spine towards the legs, and then they let you come up, right? So keep your hands here. Maybe this is all you do because maybe it's a little bit too intense for you to do anything else. For the rest of you, if you'd like to try, you can take your arms to the side. Inhale, up, and then you're gonna exhale, come forward, Keep your head up, so don't let your neck round. And then you come all the way down to your forehead on your block. And then you inhale to rise. Exhale to come down. You could let your hands come all the way to your low back if you'd like at the end of your exhale. Inhale to lift. Try to let this movement be in your hip. So keep your mind in your hip. Go to your hip right now with your brain, with your mind. Is your hip bending, 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 bending? Keeping your head up and your spine in neutral curve, not rounding it. This is going to strengthen your back muscles, strengthen your core, the deep core. One more. Exhale. And then come up. So for those with back issues, you've got to be careful with that because we have tendencies, right? And if there's any tendency for this to happen during that process, you're going to put too much pressure in your low back. But just to notice that function, especially for those of you with low back, because I'll tell you what I notice in people's movements, they're not moving at their hip joint, they move at their spine when they bend. And so I want you to pay attention to that. It's really, really important. And what I noticed for myself yesterday, there was a couple of times where I was bending. I think I was doing some gardening and I'd come into a bend and maybe I wasn't bending at my hip like I should. I'd come into it, I'd feel it, and then I would put it into my hip and take it out of my back. So if you'd like to try that right now, this is something to do where try to come forward with your spine. So don't bend this part of your body very much. Bend forward, but not with this part of your body. And now when you're here, you might start to feel what's happening in your core. Now, can you put that bend down into your hip? And it will flatten your spine or put your spine back in a neutral curve. Something really great to practice when you're on the mat with that raised awareness, and then practice off so that you stay safe in your movements. You're not bending forward, you're bending at your hip joint. Very, very important lesson. Very for all of us, and especially if you have osteoporosis, to minimize fractures. Okay, so here we are. Let's come forward. Let's bring our right leg forward. So bring your right leg forward and your block is here. Take your foot, bring your foot forward. We're going to stretch our psoas. Now we're stretching the psoas of the left leg because the left leg is in the back and the right leg is in the front. So the psoas is on your low back, attaches to the upper leg bone. So if you take your right hand here, walk your right foot forward, and you could have your hand on your block if you'd like. Inhale here, and then exhale. And now inhale to bring yourself forward by bending your right knee and your right hip. And exhale to come back. So I really want you to think about the joints here. Don't think about, oh, I'm going to move forward. I want you to bring your awareness to your right hip and to your right knee. Exhale. And as you inhale, bend that right knee, bend that right hip, and let yourself come forward. Go slow so that you could feel what's appropriate. This lunge can be something that aggravates issues in people's tissues if they're not careful and mindful with the movement. Yet it can be so effective for adding length into the body and taking tension out low back. Bring yourself forward. Stay here. Strong bend in your right knee, strong bend in your right hip. Take your block forward. So your block is in alignment with that front ankle, the right ankle. Take your right hand on your right thigh, bend your elbow, lengthen your spine here. So get nice and long in your spine. And now turn your heart, so your upper spine, your thoracic spine, your heart, and your shoulders over the right knee. Deep breaths here. Hopefully you feel a stretch around the left side of the low belly. Try to get the low ribs to rotate as well if that's safe for you. Take one more breath. And then go ahead and bring yourself straight and then unbend. So you could stay where you are. I'm going to turn so that I stay facing you. Now we're going to bring our left leg forward. The block is on the floor. Get yourself established. Make sure that your left foot is not like a duck, right? You have your left foot pointing forward and not out to the side. So make sure that you're nice and aligned here before you start loading on these joints, and take your left foot forward. The left ankle is forward of the left knee. It's not closer to my body than the knee is. Take your left hand on your thigh. Your right hand could be on the block or it could be on your waist, elbow bent. You're gonna think about your left knee and your left hip. Inhale and exhale. And then let's inhale to come forward, bending that left knee, left hip. Go slow, feel what's happening on the right side. Exhale to come out of that. Inhale to come forward, bending that left hip, left knee. Exhale to come back up. Inhale. Go slow because there's a lot of stretching on the other side, and that muscle is attached to the low back, so you want to go slow so your low back is okay. Come forward and stay here. Nice long spine. And then walk your block forward, pick it up, bring it forward so you get a really nice long spine here. Take your fingers are towards the inside, elbows bent, get nice and long in your spine. And then the low ribs, the middle ribs, the heart, and the shoulders rotate towards the left. Deep breaths here. Take one more breath. And then bring yourself back to center. Bring yourself all the way up and out. So we're going to come to a standing position. We're going to get a chair. We're going to do a little bit here with the upper body, the shoulders, and do some work up here so that we can create more strength in our upper body to help lift us up and away from the low back and to keep that length in the spine. Okay, so to get up, a nice way to get up is to bring a leg forward, walk the foot forward, forward, forward. Take the hands, both hands on that leg, flip the back toes under, and then push yourself slowly forward and up to come up to standing. And then get your chair. So gather your chair, and then you want to clear your space, and this is where you're going to practice that hip joint bend to bend forward. Really important for the rest of your life to move nice and safe in your joints, protecting your spine. So you bend forward with that flat back. That means you're going to bend your hip and your knees, not your spine. Take your blanket, move your blanket off to the side. Keep your block and your strap handy. And come to have a seat. Sitting in your chair, usually prefer to practice yoga in a chair that doesn't have arms, although I don't want that to be restriction. So if you're gonna start bringing in more movement into your life and learn some movements here, some postures in a chair, and you happen to have an armchair, of course, still do that. But if you do have access to a chair without arms to practice, that can be a good thing to do. All right, so let's move away from the back of the chair. So slide your body forward, slide your tushy on your chair forward. So you're not being supported by the back of the chair. And now you need your body to support you. You need the muscles of posture to turn on to keep you supported in this position. Again, with that awareness piece, I want you to feel your pelvis in the chair. So feel your tushy cheeks, maybe a little bit of wiggle, 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 or back and forth, back and forth. So when we're sitting, our pelvis starts to play a major role in balance and the receptivity and the communication of balance. When we're standing, it's our feet, our ankles, our knees, and our hips. When we come to the seated position, the pelvis, the hip joint, has to now figure out where you are in space and create that balance in your body. So feel the pelvis on the chair. And then I want you to bring your awareness to your spine. 26 vertebrae, 2 of them are in your pelvis, 5 are in the low back, 12 are attached to your 12 ribs, 7 are in the neck. And I learned this: breakfast at 7, lunch at 12, dinner at 5. And maybe that's how I first started remembering it, but now it's something I always think about. And I'm always trying to be very body aware when I move, not just when I'm teaching, but when I move and live my life. Okay, so here we are. I want to use breath here to create the intra-abdominal pressure. So the diaphragm that's around your lower ribs is going to move down towards your seat. I want you to feel that downward movement. You could visualize a mountain or a triangle as you breathe in. And I also want you to feel the lift that comes into your thoracic spine, because that's the beauty of proper breathing. It's one of the other aspects of proper breathing that's not discussed as often. We talk about diaphragmatic breathing for nervous system regulation, for mood and emotional management or control. I'd also like to say from musculoskeletal health, from biochemical physiological stress in the body, it also helps to create length and space in our spine, and especially our thoracic, where we need it. And if you have osteoporosis, the potential of fractures is greater in our spine. And then even if it's not about spinal fractures, it's all the low back issues, right? So this is to free us up for our back health. So you're forward, you're not resting up against the back of the chair. Take your hands on your thighs and slide your elbows back so your elbows come underneath your body. Just feel that. Feel how when the elbows are forward, shoulder blades come to the side of the body. And when you take your elbows underneath your shoulders or even farther back, feel how those big flat bones, your shoulder blades, move on behind your rib cage towards your spine. Very supportive. That's what they're there for, is to support you. So feel that. Forward, inhale, back, exhale. Forward and back. Elbows lead the way. Think about your elbows here. Try to keep your shoulders away from your ears. No shoulder earrings. Nice long neck. Inhale and exhale. For those with shoulder issues, so helpful for you to realize and know, where are my elbows throughout the day? Keep your elbows back in your body, and that'll really help with your shoulder health. The rotator cuff muscles and arthritis and bursitis in that shoulder joint. I see so much of that. Let's exhale to come back. Stay here. You're going to bring your awareness to your diaphragm. It's around your entire rib cage. There's a right side and a left side. It's like a big parachute that moves down. I want you to feel that. We're going to close our eyes. We're going to bring in a mountain shape of breath, or a V shape of breath that comes in 2 nostrils and gets bigger, goes to the belly, presses down towards your seat. Feel it in your chair. And then at the same time, feel that rebounding lift that comes into the thoracic spine. Take an exhale to prepare. Mouth is closed. Breathe in through your nostrils, down to your diaphragm, down to your seat. And at first, let's focus on the downward movement, filling up your lower belly, feeling the pressure down towards your pelvic floor and towards your seat. Feel your belly expand. Notice if it's equal, right side, left side. There's 2 parts to your diaphragm, the right diaphragm, the left diaphragm. Do you feel them both moving down equally? I'd like you to take your right palm and turn your right palm up. So the back of the hand is on your thigh. The right palm is up. The left hand is on your thigh. Elbows are underneath your shoulders. Take an exhale. And now inhale. And exhale. Bring your awareness to your diaphragm. Can you feel your left diaphragm, your left side, the whole left lower rib section filling up and moving? Maybe you feel both sides, or maybe you feel the left moving and not the right. Let's feel that on the other side. Take the right palm down and then the left palm open. So the left palm is up towards the sky, the back of the hand is on the legs, elbows under the shoulders, right palm is down on the thigh. Take an exhale. Inhale. Notice if you feel the right side only or right side more than left side. Take both palms down. Breathe down to your low belly, down to the diaphragm. Breathe down to your pelvis. So feel that downward movement. Now bring your awareness right to where the lower ribs are, kind of around the belly button area. And on these next few breaths, see if you could feel downward and upward movement from this location with each breath. And actually, I want you to focus more on the upward movement. So as the diaphragm moves down to the belly, I want you to feel the lengthening of your thoracic spine. So really fill your belly up to create so much intra-abdominal pressure that you feel the lift that happens in the rib cage. Take one more breath. Bring your awareness to your hands, rub your hands together. Cover your eyes with your hands. And then gently blink your eyes open. So I'm currently studying in India with my teacher, and his father was Western medicine doctor, and so is he. So I learned this hand position for breath, for lungs. Some of you may actually have the ability to feel that. I feel it in my body. When you have the palm that's up will stop the flow of breath to that side. And the palm that's down will create a closed circuit because there's so many neurons. So it's a neurological brain. It's neurons in brain that's happening when you have a hand down, and it creates a closed circuit. And part of that is the respiratory system. So it's really profound. Maybe you're able to feel that. That's just a little taste and a little sampling of the tremendous healing power of breath in the practice of yoga. One of the most powerful aspects of this practice is breath and using breath. And I'll tell you that even today, chiropractors and physical therapists are tapping more into the subtle aspects of breath and its tremendous ability to heal spinal health, back health, I'm going to say bone health, and also, of course, all the other things. All right, you're still forward from the back of the chair. Maybe you feel your back working here. That's what we want. Let's start to lubricate our shoulders. Take your fingers in the front, your thumbs are in the back, nice and tall in your spine. Inhale. As you exhale, let your elbows come down, let your chin go down towards your chest, let your arms, your elbows come towards each other. And then the inhale begins, elbows are up, throat is open, elbows open up out to the side, then the head starts to come down, the elbows start to come down, the exhale occurs, and then the inhale. And the exhale. Close your eyes, feel your way into this, go slow. Usually even people with shoulder joint issues are able to do this if the hands are on the shoulders, because it doesn't just limit it into that shoulder joint, it actually engages the whole shoulder girdle, and it allows the shoulder blades and other muscles to be part of what creates this rotation. Super important for posture, for alignment, for back health, for spinal health, and for making you feel good, young, and happy. Inhale and exhale. Last one. And then go ahead, bring yourself all the way back. So I mentioned some of the benefits. There's also the aspect of pumping the lymphatic fluid through the system, which is part of your immune health, moving the under armpit, the shoulder joint area. And I was explaining a little earlier that the lymphatic system comes up to this part of your body, and right here, slightly to the left in the aortic arch, is where the lymph dumps back into the circulatory system, where it's processed and filtered out and cleansed, and then goes back into the lymphatic vessels. And the lymphatic system only moves through movement and massage. So if you're getting your weekly massages, which most people aren't, or if you're doing your daily massages, which hopefully you are, that's one way. And then movement, all of the stuff we're doing. All right, coming forward again, away from the back of the chair, focusing on the upper body here. Let's take your arms like this. Now, if your arms will not lift this high because your shoulders say, no way, Jose, you may be down here doing this movement. You're going to do it whatever range of motion you have in your shoulder joint. You do you, everyone else is taken. All right. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Inhale. Exhale. Keep your hands right above your elbows. So don't be like this and do this. You want your hands above. Creates a little bit of a bigger lever, more weight for your shoulders to manage and your upper back muscles to manage. When you come to the side, try to come to the side so the wrist comes on top of your elbow. I want you to try this. I want you to try to round your upper back. So add that Mr. Magoo posture, the Hunchback of Notre Dame, and try to open up your arms. See how limited you are in opening your arms. Now I want you to really lift your heart forward, do the opposite, add a back bend to the upper spine. And inhale and see how much more range of motion you have. You can even put your arms back farther, even beyond the side of your body. Exhale. Inhale. So stay here with that lifted heart. Bring your awareness to the back center of your head, right where that round part is, that occipital ridge. Imagine there's a hook on the wall behind you that you're able to push your head back, lift it up, tuck your chin down, and place yourself on a hook. So you feel this length in your spine when you're doing this. Inhale, open. Exhale, closed. Stay with me. Yes, there's heat happening in the back of the body, those muscles back there. Last one, open, stay here. Try to keep pushing your hands back. Lift your heart up. Push your hands back so they're on top of your elbows. Take 3 more breaths here if you can. And breathe down to your belly. Create that lift in your spine. Mouth is closed. Smile. Feel that heat, feel that work, feel that hanger that you just created to hold yourself up. And then go ahead and bring your arms down. Shoulders are forward, they're up, they're back, and they're down. Forward, up, back, down. So this may be the way to prevent back issues. It may be the way to protect your hip joint, your knee joint, your feet, all the things that you have issues in your tissues. Because if you could strengthen your upper part of your body and not start the collapse, right? You know, the dominoes, you push one and then the other falls, the other falls, the other falls. Sometimes the pain in your feet, the pain in your ankles, the pain in your knees, the pain in your hips started up here. Well, it really started up here with the thoughts, and that's a deeper aspect of the wisdom of yoga and getting into the mindset shift to really get healthy. But if we're talking physical body, it starts up here. Where is that first domino? The domino head. Once that starts to go, bam. And you might be feeling it in your feet, but it's really because your domino head went forward and everything else fell apart or followed along. So strengthening your upper body is a way to keep that domino head of yours on top of your spine, on top of your body, and not letting it go forward. All right. Shoulder strength. So we're going to do little circular patterns to strengthen shoulders. Now it's going to get a little hot in here in the shoulder joint, and this is shoulder muscles. Some of you may be here. Some of you are going to be able to be here. Let's begin first with forward circles. Arms are to the side. Try to have straight arms going forward, 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 and try to make circles. Imagine that you have pieces of paper on the side of you and you have finger paints. Even do this with your fingers, these two. And get those two on the finger paints. Make circles with the finger paints. Really squishy. Actually, it's probably a really good thing for us to finger paint for arthritis in our hands and keeping mobility in our wrists and our hands. Go a little bit bigger here. And then go a little bit bigger. Even if you have some heat in your upper back and body, and make sure your arms are alongside your body and not forward. So alongside your body, still always moving towards the back. Bigger circles, and bigger circles. And then stop. Feel what you're feeling. I even feel fluids moving. When I just did that, when I stopped, I feel like I could feel the blood like being restricted or moving or whatever, more pressure. I do have a lot of body awareness, and I live in my body often with my mind to make sure it stays safe and that it's healthy, I guess because it broke when I was 50 and I was lost it or was losing it. So maybe that's why I am the way I am. Okay, let's do that again, but this time we're gonna go back. If you were only gonna do one of these, I'd prefer the backward movement, moving back, kind of like back strokes, because that will allow the chest to be lifted. So find the hook behind you that you're gonna move your head back and tuck the chin down a little bit and lift it up. So there's an imaginary hook there, really lifting up your body. And you're going back here with your circles. Arms are straight if you can, nice long neck. So no short neck here, nice long neck when you do this. Try to get your hands to be more to the back than they are to the side and start to go a little bit bigger. And if you feel heat, embrace it. Embrace what you're experiencing. Feel your pelvis, feel very heavy in your pelvis. Let your pelvis be heavy. And then bigger circles. Bigger circles. Sit back in your seat. Close your eyes. Go into your upper arms, go into your shoulders, go into your upper back, go into your neck, your head. Posture matters. The way we stand and sit, move, will have an effect on the package you're living in and how long it's going to be that fun package that allows you to show up as that fun you, doing all the things you enjoy doing. Go ahead and open your eyes. So one more thing to strengthen the neck and then the upper back area and posture and alignment. Now we're going to really focus on this 7 bones of the cervical spine and the ability to hold your head on top of your body. So it's called chin tuck. You take these 2 fingers, you push your chin down, back in and up. So it makes like a reverse ski slope, not a big, huge movement. You take 2 fingers, sit nice and tall, actually sit forward so you're not slouching in the chair. You have 2 fingers on your chin, push your chin slightly down. So slightly down means 1/2 inch to 1 inch. Slightly down, and now push it back hard so your head goes back on top of the spine. And stay here and breathe. Now, when you release the tension, I want you to feel right along your spine the release. Go ahead, let go of your hands. Feel that release and that let go. 2 more times. Push down, back, and up. Reverse ski slope. It'd be great if you noticed a little bit of release and stuff in your ear area, in the sinus canals, and in the vessels of the head and neck. And then bring yourself forward. One more. Push down, back, and up. And then go ahead and release. Balance has a lot to do with ears and eyes. So some of the stuff we're doing here, and especially right now, is hopefully going to create a little bit more space for you there as well for better balance. Go ahead and grab your strap. Let's do a nice big stretch of the chest and the upper body with the strap. I'll show you this movement, and then you're going to modify accordingly. Let your body be the guide on what's appropriate. Try to keep the arms straight if you can, coming forward, up and back with straight arms, really lengthening in that shoulder joint. And the next time that you come back, stay back. Some of you may need to have bent shoulders, bent elbows, or even if the shoulders don't let you do this, you could try this, where you have, maybe you come into something like this. So do whatever you can to feel a stretch across the chest, opening the chest. Feel the seat, feel the weight of your pelvis, and let your lower ribs lift away from your pelvis. It's a lot of range of motion in that mid body. And then go ahead and bring that strap down. Take the strap off. Get your block now. We're going to stretch out your neck. So having the block on the thoracic spine behind the heart, having it to help support you here, either flat or even here like this. You have to be away from the back of the chair here. So choose whatever. I find that the thoracic support is better for most than lumbar, but for you, if lumbar feels better, meaning having it lower, then have it lower. We're going to stretch our neck here. Hands are on your thighs, elbows are underneath the shoulders. Push your head back so it's on top of your spine. Inhale. Keep your teeth touching. And as you exhale, let the tip of your chin come down towards your chest. Keep your teeth together. Inhale, chin up towards the sky. Exhale, chin to chest. Let it be the tip of your chin that leads the way. Keep your teeth clenched. Together, not such a strong clench. One more in each direction. Bring yourself back to center. Let's do a little rotation. Moving your head in one direction, moving your head back to center, and in the other. There are 6 potential movements of the spine bones. Rotation to the right is one, rotation to the left is another. We just finished doing extension and flexion. And the last 2 movements are side bending movements. So bring yourself back to center. You're going to keep your neck nice and long. Think about the tip of your ear going straight up towards the sky. Don't think about this ear coming closer to the shoulder. That's not the goal, or chin to chest. That's not the goal. The goal is that this ear moves up towards the sky and bends to the side. Feel that side of your body stretch. Bring yourself up. The other ear goes straight up towards the sky. Back to center. A few more like this. And then back to center. So today's practice very focused on spinal health, on posture, and on alignment, all things that are really important for managing your stress physiologically and biochemically, musculoskeletally, which are 2 main stress areas, and also mentally, emotionally, because if this package breaks down, it's really hard to still maintain happy when it's hard to live your life the way you want to live your life. So posture, alignment, huge on so many areas for us for stress management. We're gonna come down into the ground and do our Shavasana, allowing the integration of everything we just practiced to seep into our bones, our joints, our cells, our tissues. And because we have a chair, it'd be a great way to end is with a chair. So set yourself up with a blanket and a chair. So make sure you choose what's good. And your feet, if you do use the chair, your feet, your whole calf should be supported. So you may need to turn your chair to the side if you don't have a space to put your legs through at the back. And then the blanket is underneath the head and neck. Let go, let go. This really helps to also really release low back. You can let your knees move out to the side a little bit. And then let's end with the hands on the tummy. Breathing down to the low belly gently. Mouth is closed, breathe in through your nose. If you'd like, you could repeat the words peace, peace, peace. begin to deepen your breath. Start to bring movement to the hands, to the feet, to the ankles, to the wrists, to the knees, to the hips, and draw the knees into your body. Rolling across your spine from side to side. So this is your daily massage. Massaging your back muscles, moving the lymph in the tissues back into the system to be cleansed and filtered and replenished. Come onto your side. Open up your hand. Let's push yourself up and away from the ground. Coming into whatever seated position is appropriate for you. So the practice of yoga for the mind to balance the mental energy, raising your body awareness, bringing your mind into your body, and then keeping the body healthy and mobile and flexible, good range of motion in your joints, moving the bones, the muscles, the tissues, has an effect on your physiology and your biochemistry. It's a very healing practice to bring movement into your body. Let's take our hands together. Press your chest forward to your thumbs. Feel that lift that's created when you do that. Lengthen the back neck. We're going to close with Om, blending the Ah, the O, and the which are the vowel sounds created from an open mouth to a closed mouth, from sound coming from the back of your throat to your mouth. That's what's happening. So let's pay attention to that. Exhale. Breathe all the way down to the base of the spine. There's a pause at the end of the Om. And then let's bow in gratitude, namaste, recognition of what's in me is in you, what's in me is in everyone else. Human is human, life is life. Namaste. Today's practice hopefully shared a lot of wisdom on all the tremendous benefits of the practice of yoga and of the aspect of movement and of what happens when we actually go from our mind and our thinking and all the control that our thoughts has on our lives, and we go into our body and we feel things and we notice things. Can have a really profound effect, like somatic grounding, bringing yourself into your body. Thank you for joining me. So if anybody would like to share any comments, suggestions, aha moments, I'd love to hear them or see them or read them or whatever. Let me see. Oh, Frida, hello. Nice to see you here. Great, Michael. Oh, Raina, and I love that we left, right? Because I got dropped, I think, on Thursday or whenever it was you were here. Rain, like rain. So hi, nice to see you. Lynn, great, Lynn. And hopefully Dave does too. And Dave can do this stuff in a chair. So for those of you that work, and then Steve's out there. I don't know if Joy's out there. Lee, if you're out there. Just trying to think of who else. Maybe here, Jerry. Lauren, great. Yes. Don't we all, Lauren, in more ways than we realize? And that came from my article that was published in the Nashville Times or something from a doctor about spinal health and fractures. And of course, it was about take this pill. I'm like, really? Yeah, take this pill. It's called yoga. That's what I say. Forget those dang pills. What about all the other stuff? Good, Stevie, Nancy, great. Not so stressed, and hopefully your back feels good, Nancy. Yeah, it's so true, Raina. Everything begins in the mind. And you know, I'm in a mastermind group with a whole bunch of Western medicine doctors and nurses and acupuncturists, a lot of licensed professionals, naturopathic doctors, and they're all creating programs. We're all creating wellness programs. For me, it's bone health and osteoporosis. And they're creating different programs. So many of them are focused on the gut, and they're like, everything begins in the gut. Everything begins in the gut. And I'm like, no. Everything begins in the mind. Everything. That's where the whole shebang starts. And what happens up here affects everything else. It shows up in your low back. It shows up in your joints. And we focus on where's the symptom, and we try to manage. That's what we do here in the West. We manage symptoms with medications and pharmaceuticals. So we have a symptom, we say, let's stop the symptom. But to yoga therapy, it's about getting to the cause, and the causal layer of all disease is the mind. So anyway, that's my spiel. That's what I'm out there to say, but I have to watch my P's and Q's to not be offensive. But yes, Raina, that will be huge for you. Think of a record. For those of us that remember records, think about the scratch in the record. We had to lift the handle up and move it to the side to play the song. To play your song, you've got to stop the grooved patterns of the thoughts. And it's from this lifetime and our lineage, passed on from our grandmothers, grandfathers. So it's deep, crazy deep. Pat, great. Yeah, I wonder if you guys were able to feel the palm when I did one palm down, one palm up. I don't know if you were able to feel that or experience that. Maybe takes a little bit body awareness for that. It's huge. It actually does stop the lungs. It stops there's a reflexogenic loop, nervous system loop, a respiratory system, cortical brain or somewhere in the brain, and the hands. And so when you do that, you breathe. So for those with scoliosis, and maybe there's dysfunctional breathing, and Raina, maybe, I don't know if you've got any breath work issues, breathing issues, but that could be something to see. Yeah, Stevie. And I would imagine, Stevie, you would, because you're so body aware and you practice so much yoga. So that's awesome. You did too, Nancy. Awesome. And then I wonder too, Nancy, and even Martha, because you're nurses, if that made sense to you guys, having that medical background as well. Yeah. So when the palm is up, it stops the breath. When the palm is down, the loop of respiration can occur. So you could play with that one side and the other. It's pretty powerful. And then there's hand positions too that goes in the different lobes. There's 3 different sectional breathing. There's 3 sections. Anyway, another class, another time, whatever. All right. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And I'll see you when I see you and whatever I see you in. All right. Thank you. Bye.